Welcome to Groundwork, a podcast from McLennan Corporation to talk about key material processing topics. Whether we're talking about raw material or giving valuable resources a new life, we'll break down the best methods, tools, and innovations in aggregate and mineral processing that keep the world running. Because if it's not grown, it's mined. I'm Ian Rogers. I'm the after sales manager at McLennan Aggregate Systems, and I've been there for just under 2 years now. My background has been mainly in after sales and customer support. Before this, I spent about 6 years in the waste recycling sector, 3 years in construction, and earlier on about 6 years in the automotive industry. Across all of those roles, it's been really about working closely with customers, keeping equipment running, and dealing with the day-to-day challenges that come with that. So today's podcast, we'll be discussing the future of digitization in quarries operations management. Today, we're joined with Josh Cage and Kyle Hunter from CheckProof. So guys, please could you introduce yourself? Josh.
Hello, I'm Josh Cage. I'm the US country manager for CheckProof. I've got about 10 years of industry experience, started in the UK aggregate sector. Quarry management, worked up and down the country from Wales up to North Yorkshire. I then worked for a local family business in aggregate transport management, and I've been at CheckProof now for the last 2 years. Started in sales. Now I'm here in the US, based in Houston, our head office, helping implement CheckProof into the North American market.
Yeah, hi, I'm Kyle Hunter. So I'm head of sales and system specialist based in Houston also. I've got about 20 years experience in construction in general. I'd say the last 10 years of that would be, in quarrying, aggregates, that kind of thing. I've been with CheckProof just over 4 years now, and I'm over here in the US kind of working in tandem with Josh to kind of really drive the US North American expansion.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so we'll get started with the questions. Why does digitization matter? How have quarries operated traditionally? So, Josh, I suppose we'll start with yourself.
Well, traditionally it's pen and paper, as with most businesses, and it hasn't really been that long since the industry's moved away from that, but it's happening now. And the importance of it is just, traceability is huge. Bits of paper in quarries where it's dirty, it's wet, like people are all over the place. There's an insane amount of paperwork that needs to be done on these sites. So, predictably, the problem with that, trying to keep track of everything and making sure that it is actually filed properly and followed up, is notoriously very difficult. So digitizing helps solve that. It's reported straight into the system. Generally, most systems like us are like cloud-based, so you can't lose the data. It's there, and it's easy to then follow up with and make sure that any of the issues that are raised are actually solved.
Yeah, for me, I think quarries have run on experience, and I think the experience is lacking on a few sites, and it's transferring that experience over onto the new personnel that are coming onto site. And I think digitizing that is a great help, because you can digitize then all your troubleshooting, all your maintenance, your guides, things like that. For me, digitization of all of that is key now. Kyle, what's your thoughts on it?
I was actually going to touch on what you just said about the knowledge gap that we're about to face. My time in the industry, the average age was definitely well into the 50s, and they have a ridiculous amount of knowledge in their head. And when we lose that, we're really going to be struggling. So if we can digitize an entire operation, not from just maintenance, safety, like the whole lot, we're really going to ensure that this knowledge is passed down. There's a standard way of working, routines, policies, processes, just to really enable this next generation to kind of pick up the reins and go with it. So that's, when I was in the quarry, that was one of the biggest things for me, was trying to get that knowledge into a system where it can be shared and it can be picked up.
For me, digitization of quarry operations is about taking the manual side of the job, inspecting, reporting, maintenance tracking, and moving it into a digital format. How have you guys seen that actually work on site?
Generally, most people pick an avenue to start with, and start small and kind of go big. So either in the kind of maintenance side, so daily pre-startup checks, your weekly, monthly, all the kind of routine inspections you should be doing, as well as your defect logging. The other avenue is to kind of go up the HSEQ side, so which again very compliance heavy. The industry, needs both to be digitized really, but to make it easier to train people and implement, people tend to pick one or the other.
Are you seeing any resistance of change on site?
I mean, it depends on where you're implementing. Some countries, because we deal with the whole of Europe and like North America, Central America. Different places are considerably different, and some places are at a different stage in this process. The UK, for example, has generally been quite good at already digitizing. So with that, the age gap that we're starting to see, people are starting to retire. The UK has probably timed it quite well with where the gap's going to land, because it should, in theory, be already implemented. Um, but as the products develop, it gets easier and easier to actually get things on and done and implemented quickly. Um, so yeah, it just depends on where you are. But there's always people. When I worked in aggregate transportation job, so a small family business in North Yorkshire. The drivers there. I know it's not quarrying, but it's similar. They all work in the quarries. They were all 50s, 60s. We put in a different system for their maintenance for the trucks. And it was the worst thing, the worst thing that they could have had to do in their day to day job. So at first, it's like, how do you get them to do it if they don't want to do it? And, training's part of it, but also like making it a requirement. So if they'd come in and be like, oh, I've got this defect on the truck, the simple thing was just say, okay, is it logged on this system? If the answer is no, they had to go do it, else it wouldn't get looked at. So part of it is just making it their routine. 6 months down the line, if their iPads that ran this app didn't work, they'd be crying about it, because they now really rely on the digital system, and they quite enjoy it, because they don't have to come to the office and have like the little conversations about getting things printed and things aren't lost. So because they actually utilize the system, defects getting reported. We in the office could see it, so we could also manage the mechanics in the garage quite easily. There was nothing getting lost. So actually, the trucks were getting fixed quicker, and these guys live in them, so it meant a lot. And it works. It doesn't really matter what part of the industry you're in. Once it's implemented, it is better for everyone on site, whether it's the guys on the front line, the managers and like maintenance managers who are actually managing the sites, and then for the wider company, because you end up saving money because things are getting fixed quicker, you're getting less major breakdowns. So it's got a good like knock on.
It also speeds up their job roles too. If you're having to do it paper based, and go around with a clipboard and paper and pen, and do all of those checks, it's physically it's hard, but obviously trying to note that down and record that information, it can be challenging too. And if you do have a tablet, a phone, whatever it may be, it's easy. It's one click. Take a photo. You can take a voice note, and then that's saved, and then move on to the next task. So I think it's definitely speeding up that job role, which is obviously key for the people that are performing the task. So
And it brings convenience as well. If you've got we used to have like safety alert cards. So if you spot hazard, you write it down, hand it in at the office. It then got logged onto another system. Most companies now who've digitized can just do that with a phone. So instead of a guy going, "Oh, I've seen that, but I don't have a pen or I don't have a card. I've got to go get one," but then someone grabs him for something else, that's gone. Now they can just take out the phone, put all the information, and even more, they take pictures live. So the convenience of it means you're going to capture more.
yeah, yeah. And I suppose too as well the terminology. somebody might name something different than another person that might just get lost on that document that they do leave in the office or whatever it may be. But if they take a photo and a voice note, well then at least somebody knows then that yeah, okay, it's about that, and take action about that point. So yeah, no, very very good. What does digitization look like in a modern quarry? So I suppose the points of real time monitoring, sensors, data capture, AI, dashboards, all of that. Kyle, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, you touched on a lot of it there. So, you know, there's companies out there that will start small, kind of what Josh was saying. You can pick a discipline, safety, maintenance, and so on. But, you know, for me, it's a truly like world class way of working is all of a mixture of it all. You digitalize your entire operation, but then you start bringing in sensors, which can then capture stuff, get on the preventative and predictive maintenance side of things, spot trends, stuff like that. So if you can kind of digitize an entire operation, whether that be an underground mine, a wash plant, whatever it be, you're really going to start seeing the benefits. Look, if you can get on top of things before they become a real issue, sensors are great in my opinion. I love the fact that people are integrating sensors now and kind of getting on board with that because before that people would just walk around the plant kind of just looking, seeing what's going on, not really checking for stuff, whereas these sensors you can flag things up. So if something's vibrating too much, temperature's gone too high, or whatever it may be, you can directly send a notification or send a work order to someone to visually go and inspect that. So things are being captured.
And the likes of the dashboard then with CheckProof, are those sensors able to tap into CheckProof then? So can that be on a one-stop shop on a one page and alert the customer via CheckProof?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So we integrate with various different sensor suppliers. So it's up to the customer which ones they want to use, which ones they see as a better fit. But yeah, of course you can utilize them. You can set your parameters. So if something goes above or below your desired value or the recommended sort of tolerance, then it will automatically trigger routines or inspections to the relevant department. So if it's got a maintenance guy or a maintenance team on site, it will instantly tell them, whether that be push notifications or emails. So you really are staying on top of these things. I mean, me and Josh have worked in quarries, so we know people aren't picking up on, something's vibrating too much. The screen's vibrating, there's an issue, it's on its way out, something's about to go wrong. If you don't capture that in time, what could cost you £1,000 or dollars to fix could cost you 10, 20, even 30. It really is crucial to capture that stuff before it becomes a serious problem.
Yeah. I've seen now there's new technology that on the belt tracking on conveyor belts that is picking up on the belt tracking now as well. I thought that was very good. I've seen that on site in operation. I thought it was very very good because especially in the C&D recycling, there's a lot of belt damage, belt rips, and to prevent that is huge. So I thought that technology was very, very good. What about the likes of NFCs? Are you seeing much usage of NFC tags on equipment? So let's say we had a check-proof maintenance template. Is there any customers taking up of placing NFC tags on equipment for even third-party suppliers coming to site and scanning it and bringing up the templates and being able to complete those on site, or is that even an option at the moment?
So we have kind of two versions of that. We do actually use NFC. Oh, I've got one right here. So yeah, they're like little RFID tags. Same thing as your contactless payment on your phone. And we use that for making sure that people are actually at the point of inspection. But as you say, other companies do use it as a kind of quick entry route, which ours will do the same. So it'll take you to that asset, or it could be part of a checklist. Other people use it just as a quick access, where we also utilize QR codes. Both have got their advantages. QR codes sometimes give you a little bit of trouble in the quarry environment just because of how dirty they get. They could quickly disappear. Whereas these, they might get buried, but the near field still works. Um, Always a good talking point when you speak to people when come to our booths at exhibitions, the RFIDs. It's a great technology, and we know that other people in the market are also using it elsewhere.
Is there any limitations to it? So, could you, for instance, put on a parts catalog template on that NFC and have that attached to a certain piece of equipment, or troubleshooting maintenance guides? Is there any limitations to it, or is it just open?
Within our system, we use it for a certain corner, but in terms of actually programming them, we have put on promotional stuff for events, so you could just stick them around and people can scan them. That's the good thing about these chips is you can actually program them to contain any data you want. So we link them within CheckProof, but for people out there, if you want to buy these and put them on your site, you can actually program these to have health and safety rules and have it on your welcome induction board. So as an overall technology outside of kind of what we do with them, there's quite a few uses. So I say if you want to share public information, really good for that kind of thing.
The public information would be quite good if you have third parties, visit the site now and again, and you do want to open it up to everybody, to just the general team on site. At least then you can open it up publicly, to people that are not there every day.
The benefit, so I mentioned QR codes there. So the benefit between RFID for that and QR codes do need an internet connection, but RFID you can store a bit of information on there. So there's slight difference there, slight benefit if you're in an area without internet connection.
And you see, just with the NFC tag, how easy is it to put the data on that and have that available on site? If a customer contacted you tomorrow, how quickly could that turn around if you wanted to put maintenance checklists on, or troubleshooting guides, or any information about the site in general, or health and safety, whatever it may be? How easy is that to do that?
With our system, we've got just a scan button. So you scan, tap it onto the RFID tag, and then it'll give you your options for what you want it to connect it to. So it could, you could do a pile of them in 5 minutes. It's very simple. All you need to do is you're essentially just building the bridge. So telling the phone that this ID for the tag wants to connect to X.
Okay. Well, on to the next question then. What areas can be digitized? So I have a list here of maintenance, quality, health and safety, inspections, incident reporting, planning, fleet optimization. So there's quite a few areas that can be done. So Kyle, I suppose let's start with yourself on that. So what areas for you can be digitized? And if you can, just go on those main key ones and just sort of go into the detail of them.
I mean, possibilities are kind of endless on what you want to digitize. There's systems out there for everything. There truly is. An entire operation from a mine site to a quarry, whatever. I don't think there's anything you can't really digitize. I mean, we see now we've got autonomous vehicles as well. So I'm excited to see where it's going to go over the next decade or so, because it's just growing and growing and growing. But your core stuff, like you've mentioned there, the maintenance, the safety, quality, environmental, all of this stuff is crucial when you're running an operation of any kind like that, whether it be a concrete plant or asphalt plant. You still have the same processes, the same policies, legislations. We're learning quickly. Every country, and even in America, every state is different. So everywhere has its own unique requirements. And these are crucial things that need to be done. So, capturing that core, for me, the 4 core things is maintenance, safety, environmental, and quality. They're like the 4 disciplines that when I was a customer of a system, of CheckProof, that's where we focused. That was our let's get all that on there, because was like 90% of the work. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what else is coming. You touched on the calibration of conveyor belts and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good the adaptability of a system like yourself. You know, having it on site. So let's say if the industry standards, certain things change within weeks, months, whatever it may be. At least then, you know, maintenance, quality, health and safety, that can all be updated very quickly, and that change can happen on site very quickly. Whereas before, it was, you know, a lot of paper based, having everybody signed onto that and on board, and driving it forward. Whereas now that it is going to be digitized, it's a lot easier to adapt it on site a lot quicker. Josh, do you want to tap on to any of those items?
As Kyle mentioned, like the core is key, and actually getting it digitized initially, like what generally is on paper, is quite easy because they're pretty much just checklists. So you know, at our core and our competitors' cores, a lot of it is just building the checklists, and we're getting that. Getting made easier by like AI. We've just kind of launched our beta for AI checklist builder. So in terms of getting things on, that's the simple bit. You know, the initial step of digitizing. It's more, do people want it? Yeah, okay, get it built in the system. The real advantageous bit and the harder bit to make sure that people have got right is like the workflows of what comes afterwards. But in terms of getting things digitized, you know, all it is getting paper turned into a digital checklist and getting any data that might have been manually recorded, like say you know temperature sensors, vibrations, you say your belt tracking, all those kind of things. As other suppliers are kind of building a digital platform for them, the systems, the like operational maintenance systems like ourselves, just need to make sure that we can kind of put it all in one place. Because that's what people generally don't want, you know. If something's going to be used well, it needs to be convenient, and having it in one place generally is how that like becomes successful.
Are you seeing much AI technology being used across the board at the moment?
Everyone, it's the buzz. You go to the exhibitions, everyone talks about it. I say we're in currently beta testing with some of our customers AI checklist builder, which I know a few people in the market do something similar, where you know you can give it an operational manual, and you can say I want like the daily, weekly, monthly routines built for this, and it builds it for you. Then the development of AI in the industry then turns into like trend analysis and it giving you insights that would be harder to spot with the naked eye. You know, systems and their reporting do a decent job, but they're generally quite rigid with pre AI, whereas AI kind of gives that flexibility where it can spot the anomalies and give you like a proper insight. But you know, it's everywhere, isn't it? With AI now, we use other tools within CheckProof for like our sales that use AI in terms of like analyzing our meetings and stuff like that to see like where we can improve. So it's everywhere, and it's something that people kind of should embrace because, as I say, it does bring that extra edge to whatever corner of the business you work in. Most people, I would think, within the next 5, 10 years, will be using AI systems to their benefit as well.
I know we've talked in the past, Josh, about the benefits and the cost saving benefits. And I suppose that then pushes you into the preventative side of it, you know, the cost element for a customer or a site to be down for a long period of time. If you can put systems in place that can detect early burn temperatures or early failures before the failures happen, well then that is the cost saving element of it. But you know, you have more information around the cost savings, with using CheckProof. So what's your thoughts on that?
It You could look in quite a few different corners for how it could save you money. We do have a quite an interesting case study from one of our customers on the cost of CheckProof was covered by. So we before they even started using it, the cost of CheckProof was going to be covered by not the savings on paper, ink, binders, and storage. which people probably don't start to think about that one. I mean, I've had a few conversations with other people since when they've been looking, because people see, at sense anything, all the digital kind of stuff. It's like, I think we're moving away from it now, but people see it as an extra cost. And it's that, oh, I've got to spend that extra money. Like, do I really need it? Like, we've been fine. It's the general thing that people are a bit more resistant to start with. But, the savings start on day one with, the paper, pens and ink. The ink's not cheap. And that's before you even get the system implemented. But then, as you say, the digitization gives you the data, which you'd probably have, but figuring it out what it means, very, very hard on paper. So you start there. You can start making better decisions. So less downtime, which a day down on an aggregate plant costs you thousands in lost production, especially if you're running tight like production margins. If you're selling as much as you're making, a day is directly lost sales. But then also, if you can, so you could stop the downtime or reduce the downtime, which money back in your pocket, but also by making the smart decisions of preemptively changing a part instead of letting it like completely go. Because it's not just the cost of the part that's broken and the downtime, it's actually what damage can that do to the rest of the plant. So it's got a big knock on. The bigger the plant you're operating, the higher the risk that something more expensive is going to occur. And we've seen it with our customers. We've got a case study on our website where that did happen. Large crusher, a large quarry in the UK, through using our system, they help prevent hundreds of thousands in costs. And it doesn't have to be us, it doesn't matter who you use, but if you're digitizing, you've got the information to make the better decisions earlier. And I say, when we talk about the kind of AI predictability stuff, like a lot of the sensors kind of do a lot of that earlier on now. AI will make that a bit easier, but the tools are already out there to start making decisions earlier and saving you money. So I would say, as a whole, digitization, whether it be a maintenance system or sensors, monitors, or anything like that, people need to kind of try and change their mindset into it's like an investment or cost saving, rather than just a cost. You're not getting anything back from it. In reality, you could be saving thousands.
Yeah, okay. And what about the sort of predictive maintenance side of it? Do you want to touch on any aspects of that with the digitization?
Well, at the moment, that for us, or for what I've seen, that does tend to lie more in kind of like the sensors. They're very good at seeing those minute changes that can trigger warnings. The good thing that we've got is, I say, a site will generally, and anyone who's providing a platform will see that a site, as we've seen, people have got mixed brands all over the place, which makes a good opportunity for platforms like ourselves, because they need somewhere to put all that information. Because people who are competing with each other tend not to play as nicely. So with the predictive maintenance, those small monitoring systems, but into a nice platform that puts it all in one place, makes it a lot easier for customers. Instead of getting like a pinged email from one sensor that's one brand, ping sensor on another, because it does a different type of job. Having it all in one place makes it a lot easier for people to actually utilize.
Yeah, because it could get lost then on the person that's receiving the data. It's they're getting 10 pieces of information in a day or a week, and 5 pieces get actioned and 5 don't, and then that problem then goes on down the road and materializes into a bigger problem, which
something that's inconvenient to use is never going to be as well utilized as something that's convenient. It'll always have the winning thing. So that's the help that we try and give people, is like, what do you use on your site? What do we need to get in our system, so you're not having to log into 5 different things? Because one of them, if they have 5 different logins, chances are that half of them aren't being used as much as they should, because like who wants to reopen all their tabs and try and remember, passwords these days? They ask you for 20 letters and 8 numbers. It's crazy. So yeah, convenience is key.
Yeah, yeah. I like the benefits of the sensors for the likes of temperatures, and it then it sees where the tolerance is, and if it goes and it keeps seeing that trend, well then the alert is there and it's catching it so early. And I've seen it work on many a sites, and it's just very very good. But I suppose then with AI technology getting better and better and better, and with that, then obviously the predictive side of it will get them better and better. So yeah, no, I like the sensors side of it. So yeah, Kyle, what are your sort of thoughts on that, on the benefits?
Well, one of my personal favorite parts of digitalization is fleet optimization. You kind of touched on it earlier, but it's an easy win in my opinion. As Josh talked about, there's multiple different OEMs out there, brands, and I think every customer or every client I know, they're all running different fleets for whatever reason, whether they just changed their mind and went from one brand to another brand. But all these machines are great, and they've all got data on them, telematic data and stuff like that. But unless you're using that data to make decisions, it's kind of pointless. So if you can digitize your entire fleet, yeah, you can see your best or worst performing machines, and then from that you can make decisions on why is that the case. I discuss this quite often, but it could be that if a machine is sitting at 30% idle time, there's a problem. There's something's not right. It could be that the machine's too big for the job that it's doing, so it's just sitting there, waiting for a feeder or a hopper to empty. Could be that someone's just running the machine to keep it warm. When we've had clients who can retrofit a electric heater so they can warm the cab without having to run a machine for an hour or 2 hours a day extra. The cost savings on that are phenomenal. These machines are not cheap. I could even guess what they would cost to run at an hour. Like for an hour, I'd say it's got to be $40 or $50 an hour in depreciation, oils. So it's, for me, that's a real key, easy win in
Yeah,
digitalizing things.
you've hit on a good note. Actually, it's not just the equipment that's processing; it's the equipment that's handling it and bringing it to that process. If it's wheel loaders, whatever, wheel shovels, whatever it may be. You've had a good note there. I think we actually spoke to a customer over in England, and they had shown us sort of what their cost savings were based on what you just said, idle times, things like that. So they were able to reduce that, and then reduce actually the operators' hours on site as well from that, which is obviously another cost saving element as well. So yeah, very very good,
Yeah,
very very good. Yeah.
it's and then for the more kind of forward thinking companies who are getting a bit more modern, you've got gamification, which is a great way of driving not a competition, but just a bit of kind of friendly. I guess it is a friendly competition, but no one wants to be the worst performing driver or vehicle at the company. So you can have companies that will offer, small rewards. Could be a gift card, an extra day's annual leave, or whatever it may be. It's a relatively small gift for a company, but if you're starting to drive behavioural change,
And that's the problem. It's the change element of it. It's getting people to on board with that change. It is very hard, and
exactly,
a token or a gesture now and again,
yeah,
it
yeah,
pushes that on. It helps you make that change. Yeah, very.
100%, 100%. I think we're going to see it a lot more, in the near future, to just drive this behavioural change. Because people, the standard operators of machinery and stuff like that, they're there to do a job. They don't want to change the way they're working right now. We've always done it this way, which is, one of the worst things I can hear in a quarry is we've always done it that way. But there's always room to improve, better ways of doing it. And I think ways like that, token gestures, kind of getting them on board, is going to be the way to go for the future, for sure.
I mean, it's quite an exciting time to be in the software business. I mean, coming from quarrying background, moving into software, so it's interesting to see how things work in the background and what's coming.
I suppose just one other question, just to sort of wrap up on it. Are you seeing any sort of different trends, across Europe, UK, America? Are you seeing any different trends with regards to the take up of preventative maintenance, and the beauty of using a platform like CheckProof? Are you seeing that Europe use it more and utilize it more than the UK market, for instance?
I think that so it's, Europe in general is relatively aligned with it, with each other. Doesn't change too much with country, from country to country. In terms of where they are in the process of getting things, I would say that Europe's maybe little bit more mature than the US. The US, you do find a lot more companies that have either committed to just one corner, so they have a system for health and safety. Quite often, that's where people start, because it's the bit that really takes care of the people, keeps everyone safe. But the US, we do go to events and have a lot more conversation about people that are just using either simple systems, you Google Sheets and pen and paper, compared to Europe, where it's a little bit more already done. However, in the US, you do also find companies that it's a bit more all or nothing. There's a lot of people that are out there like, yeah, we're still on pen and paper, and there's other people who are like, no, we have a system for everything, all in one. So it's quite interesting to see, but it's good for opportunities. It's very easy to talk to people because it's new to them. And I say some of the changes that we're making, like the AI, which makes people's onboarding a bit easier for doing their own things and just less time consuming, makes that easier. Because that's the one thing that we've kind of learned when we've come over to the US, is that Europe are a bit more happy to kind of make the system themselves, build it, whereas the US do want a little bit more of a kind of plug and play already set up. And we could cater to both, but it was something that we didn't guess that it was going to happen. But you start having more and more conversations. You're like, okay, like this is our training program, and like the US is more like to go, yeah, trainers on it, but we would like the system kind of already built there. Whereas Europe a little bit more, we'll do it ourselves type thing. So that culturally, it's not too different, but I say they're probably just in different places on the same timeline. I would think in like 5-10 years, the US will be kind of where we are now.
Okay.
In Europe.
Okay. And what about industry wise? I know we're talking about the aggregate systems and sort of C&D recycling. Is there any other industries that have a more of an uptake on it?
Cement tend to be because they're so big, complicated production lines. They tend to generally have something in place, especially for your like maintenance, just because it matters. They're very expensive to run, therefore compounding the issues we were talking about earlier. Breakdowns are worse. They need something bigger. So in the US, I'm talking US market here, because there's more of a variance there. Cement's probably one that you would expect to have a system in place. But I said, Kyle, you probably got a better insight of the other corners of the industry.
What surprised me here is there's a lot of people from like earth moving, excavating companies coming to us looking for systems like us, because these companies they're not producers of material, but they are running sometimes 500 or 2,000 pieces of equipment. With probably an average cost of $100,000, $200,000, they've got a lot of money out in the field every day. They don't know what's happening with their equipment. They just have no idea how to protect them and how to look after their assets. So that's been for me a bit of an eye opener. I mean, the sheer size of America and the amount of work that's happening here. So that's been a great kind of corner of the market that's really opened up to us. And I'm kind of looking forward to how that's going to progress this year.
To wrap up, we've talked about how quarries have traditionally run, what digitization looks like in practice, and what the real benefits it can bring, from preventative maintenance, optimized throughput, to better decision making and cost savings. At the end of the day, it's not about replacing the experience. It's about giving the teams the tools to work smarter, safer, and more efficiently. So, listen, thank you very much, CheckProof, for sharing your insights and showing how this all works in the real world. Hopefully, our listeners now have a clearer picture of what a modern quarry can look like. Thank you for listening to Groundwork, McLanahan podcast. Be sure to subscribe to your favourite listening app for new episodes and follow McLanahan on social media for more content. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'm Nick Ford, Director of Sales, Crushing and Screening. If you want more videos like this one, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to never miss an episode. And don't forget to check out the other episodes. Thanks for watching.